Hello and welcome to the Alcohol Free Vibes podcast, a high vibe space where we talk about all things spirituality, manifestation, raising our vibrations, and walking away from the manifestation block that is alcohol. Whether you're newly sober, sober curious, or you've been sober for a long time, this is the place for you if you want to learn more about spirituality, manifestation, and how letting go of alcohol can make you so much more powerful at manifesting. It's time to stop drinking, start living, raise our vibrations, and step into our manifestation power. Let's get started. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Alcohol Free Vibes podcast. Today is the day that Sober and Soulful launches my 6-week course. So the doors are closed. I am so excited to get this round of Sober and Soulful going. If you are listening to this and you're thinking, oh man, I really wish I was doing that course. I've missed out. Don't worry, this will be launched again next quarter. So I'll be launching this course 4 times a year. And yeah, you can sign up the next time I launch it. It's coming. And I look forward to seeing you in the next round if you're listening to this, wishing that you were signed up. But those of you that are signed up to Sober and Soulful, I am absolutely buzzing to speak with you all this evening and to get going, to really remove any FOMO at all that you might have around letting go of alcohol, because I promise you there is absolutely no benefit whatsoever to drinking it, and to really show you how you can heal and up level. This week's guest is, I think, the perfect person to come and talk to you at this point in your alcohol-free journey. If you are doing dry January, or if you've just decided that, on the 1st of January that you've had enough of drinking, or if you've recently decided, this is such an amazing interview to listen to. Kate from Walking the Straight Line on Instagram has just reached her first year alcohol free, and the discussion that follows really shows you just how and why being alcohol free is magical. It will give you a lot of reassurance, it will give you a lot of inspiration, and everything she says really links into a lot of the deep work that we do in Sober and Soulful to really help you unpick and up level and start living your absolute best life possible. If you're thinking, I really want to do something to give myself an extra oomph, why not just go onto Amazon and buy the Alcohol Free Vibes journal? It's only $8.99, and it's a nice little, there's lots of structured journaling questions and prompts in there that can help you start thinking and unpicking. And of course, you can always reach out to me for coaching options. I do one-to-one and group coaching options. I'm always here to support you, and I honestly am just so excited for you if you've just started this journey, because you have no idea how much magic you are walking into. So without further ado, let's jump into this week's guest, Kate, telling you about what she's discovered in her first year of sobriety. Hello, Kate. How are you today?
I'm good, thanks. I'm not bad. It's I think it's the 5th of January. Oh, I'm not meant to say that, am I?
No, you can.
I don't know when this is going live, but yeah, I'm good. It's the first week in Jan, and I'm feeling really positive. I feel very differently this year because I've just hit a year sober. So last year I was kind of full of, I didn't know where the year was going to go. I didn't know what was going to happen. But this year I feel firmly kind of seated in my sobriety and excited about other things that are going to go on this year. So it's just a really nice way to sort of hit 2023, really.
And I just think this is the perfect time of year for you to talk to all of those people who are now in the position that you were this time last year, for you to be able to share your experience, your story, I think is going to give a lot of people a lot of inspiration and comfort. So what would you like to tell those people listening who are white knuckling it at the moment?
Well, everyone's so different, and a lot of people ask me kind of, how do you do it? And it's a really tricky question, because actually there is no answer. And some people rely on AA, and I know one of my best friends is going to AA at the moment, and it literally saved her life. So, although I don't use AA and I've never been, I know that has been fundamental in her recovery. And without it, she'd be in a very dark place. So, everyone's different. And for me, I was at a place where, I was drinking 10 bottles of wine a week at home, just doing nothing. But I was managing to function. I'm a mother of 2 kids. I've got a job as a writer. I've got a social life, a husband, I've got a lot going on, but I was still managing to drink a lot of wine. And that has been going on for so long for me. It was just part of my life, but it was slowly chipping away at my happiness. I didn't love myself. I didn't even like myself. And bit by bit, I was getting more and more sucked down into the kind of dark, deep water. And I think what happened with me was that I suddenly, I recorded myself drunk on the 20th of December, not this year, gone, the year before. And when I woke up and I saw that video of myself, I got really angry. And that anger is what fueled my first month of sobriety, because instead of feeling like, I know I've got to stop, I've got to be healthier, I've got to do this, I don't want to do it, but I've got to do it, I suddenly had a very different approach, and I was angry at alcohol. Now, I'm not saying alcohol is completely to blame. I know I'm the one who opened the bottle and drank the wine, and that's a very complex conversation that I know a lot of people have. But for me, for the first time ever, I blamed alcohol instead of blaming myself. And that switch in mentality meant that I went into it with like a ferocious anger and a determination to win a fight against alcohol. And for me, that kind of fueled my month, because every time I had a craving, every time I looked in the mirror, or I had a bad night's sleep and I just thought, ugh, or I want a glass of wine, I thought, no, I will not let this thing carry on dominating my life. Think of all the things it's taken from me. Think of the way I feel about myself. All of this is because of alcohol. I have to stop it, and I'm going to win. I'm stronger than my craving for alcohol, and my need or my want for alcohol is stronger. I've got to put my self-respect and love for myself first. And that really is how I dealt with it. I mean, I did join a 100-day program where I signed up for it, and every day I had to check in, and that was great. And then when I'd done 50 days of that, I set up an Instagram account and I discovered the sober community. And I can honestly say, without that support, I don't think I would have made it to a year.
Sober community, having a tribe is so key for all behavior change. Something that I really like that you just said as well is that the shift happened when you basically stopped seeing yourself as broken, and you stopped seeing yourself as the one with the problem, and you realize, no, alcohol is the issue, not me. And that's so key, isn't it? You are whole. You had all the resources that you needed within you to deal with it. As soon as you kind of came out of that feeling of being a victim, or feeling of I'm broken, I'm not enough, and you were like, hang on a minute, no, I am enough, and I'm not doing this anymore.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And it's almost visually, I mean, I'm a very visual learner, and for me it was almost like seeing myself crumpled in the middle of nothing in a sea, drowning, and then actually stepping back and realizing there was a hammer in the shape of a bottle of wine that was coming down on me. That's what was pushing me down. And actually, instead of saying I'm not enough, I'm not strong enough, what's wrong with me, actually I focused on the thing that was pushing me down, and I eliminated that. So exactly, it was the beginning of my journey of self-love, because I stopped putting everything on myself. And I think that's also what makes you drink, because you feel so bad about yourself. You feel so, your self-esteem is so low. And people who know me would be shocked to hear me say that, because people have always said you're so confident, and I am confident, and I always have been, in perhaps the way I go about my everyday, but my feelings for myself were never high. You know, and I always blamed myself for everything, but actually it wasn't. It was my decision to drink, and then the alcohol is just so sneaky, and it gets into every aspect of your life. It was affecting my mental health more than I could have imagined. And I literally thought by stopping drinking, I would just stop picking up a glass of wine at night, and I would be healthier and I might lose some weight. I had no idea the changes it would make in my perception of myself and the world, the way that I would focus, the way I'd see things, my moods, and yes, my health. You know, I lost a stone easily without doing any exercise, just because I stopped drinking 800 calories a night. But it changed everything. And it's only now that I've come out of the other side and realized who I really am, that I'm aware of how damaging alcohol actually was to me. Because I just thought it was about being a bit hazy in the morning and maybe being a bit grumpy, but it's not. It was stunting every single aspect of my day, mentally and physically. And it's terrifying looking back, that I could have carried on.
It is terrifying. And what you're just describing so beautifully there is that alcohol keeps us so small. It keeps us out of our power. And you're just describing that process of realization. You stepped back into your power and you realize it's not just a hangover that alcohol gives you. It suffocates you, because, you know, when we're drinking every day, and I certainly was doing that for a time as well, it's a daily act of ignoring ourselves. It's a daily act of basically strangling ourselves every time our body or our subconscious tries to say, excuse me, you need to look at this. There's a problem. No, shut up. Have a glass of wine. I'm not going to deal with it. It's like sticking our fingers in our ears, isn't it? Singing la, la, la. And the shifts that happen when you stop doing that are just exponential, right?
It is. And I used to say I drink to slow me down. You know, I didn't ever think of myself as someone who needed alcohol. I thought of myself as someone who wanted it and who used it. I almost used it to self-medicate, because I could have a day off drinking and I wouldn't shake and I wouldn't crave it. And if I didn't have that first glass, I would be okay. But I wanted wine. I wanted the effect of being drunk, because it stopped my brain, because my brain goes so quickly and is always thinking, and I wanted that escape. But even hearing yourself say that, it's like that's taking drugs to stop your brain from having its natural thought process. It's so dangerous, and it makes so much sense to me now that was never a healthy thing to do. Because also, you know, that was nice for 20 minutes or half an hour, but then it all started getting very dark and gloomy and emotional, and the wrong kind of emotions. You know, someone might have annoyed me that day, and by 11 o'clock at night, after a bottle of wine, I'd be accusing my husband of flirting with someone because I was angry about something that had happened at the shop, but my emotions just got jumbled up and I couldn't make sense of them properly. So I'd grab anything and spit it out in a different way to someone who didn't deserve it, which then causes all sorts of problems. And then the guilt, it was just a mess. It was like a sort of can of alphabet soup jumbled up and spewing out of my mouth in any random way, because I was desperately trying to make sense. But of course, my brain was just so confused, because you cannot think sensibly and in a practical way when you're under the influence and recovering from a hangover or a heavy session, thinking about alcohol, feeling all the guilt. I mean, where's the time for a normal day? It's just it's exhausting thinking about it. And I don't know how I did it for sort of 15-20 years.
And actually what you're describing there is the fact that alcohol completely disorientates us and cuts us off from our inner guidance system. And when we come back online, we start working with that, then we're like, oh, everything's like working out for me now. This inner guidance system actually knows what it's on about. I don't know, but we're kind of like spinning it out of control, aren't we? And completely it when we're drinking. Yeah.
Well, it's like that pin the tail on the donkey where you're blindfolded, spun around and pushed off into the woods and you're trying to find your way. You've got no chance. You need to stop, breathe in the air, take the blindfold off and make mistakes and take the wrong path, but know your way back to the starting point so you can take a different path. And you just can't do that when you're drinking all the time. And then you get panicked and you run and you trip over and you hurt yourself and you bump into the wrong people and ask them for guidance and they're dangerous. And life is just, it's a calamity waiting to happen or happening. And, it sounds really dramatic, but it is dramatic. And it really has affected my life. I look back and I just think, I wonder where I'd be if I'd stopped drinking when I was sort of in my early 20s, which really I should have. I don't sit here thinking, I wish I'd done that, because I am who I am because of it. And quite frankly, if I hadn't gotten to this point, I probably wouldn't have stopped.
Yeah.
In which case, I probably would have drunk for the rest of my life. And now I know that even a glass of wine at night is bad for you. So I'm happy with who I am. I've dealt with it. I don't have tons of regrets. There are things I wish hadn't happened, but they have happened, and I'm at peace with that. But I'm excited about what's going to happen in the future and what's coming, and I'm proud of myself. And I have not said that as an adult ever with conviction, and that to me is so exciting.
Yeah, and I'm excited for you. I mean, every year of sobriety brings more excitement. So just to kind of, before we start talking about what you are bringing in your second year, what are the amazing things that you manifested in your first year of sobriety? So you can talk about like things that you healed or just things that have got better for you.
It's so difficult to list, because I could start with waking up and I could talk you through a whole day and go with ending with a great night's sleep. I mean, it is really that big, because I wake up and I'm rested. I'm alert immediately. I get up on time and I go and help the kids get ready for school. I'm not laying there waiting for a second cup of coffee or my kids bringing me a piece of toast. I get up, I look in the mirror and I like who I see. My skin is healthier. I'm not wearing my clothes from the night before because I collapsed in bed and I couldn't be bothered to take them off or was blacked out. I don't have to check my phone and worry about who's texted me saying, are you okay? Why did you do that? What do you mean? And having to deal with the mess of someone I don't even remember. I don't know what I've said. I've got to try and work it out. It's like a huge puzzle. That's all in the first 15 minutes of me waking up. All of those things have changed. Then you've got work. I thought my creativity would be awful, but it wasn't. It's so much better. I am so much more productive, and I'm confident in my work, and I'm more creative than I was before. I'm eating healthier. I don't feel like I need to stock up on fatty, salty, sugary foods because I drank, and I feel like I need to just, go to McDonald's and eat a Big Mac in order to recover from the drinks. I think I'm definitely going out less, but I have to say that I think at my age, in my 40s, I only ever went out to see friends and to drink. And now I see friends in a very different way. I'd rather meet them for walks or go for a coffee or go for lunch. And I'm loving that. I prefer it. I'm realizing I am quite a loner. I love time on my own. And I've always thought of myself as incredibly sociable, but I'm not. And I've got all this extra time to read, to do things, I can list hobbies that I want to do, evening courses I want to do, and I can actually do them. I've saved money from not drinking. I can spend money without feeling guilty. Whereas before I'd think, well, I've probably already spent 60 quid this week on wine. I can't go out there and sign up for a fine art course in the evenings because I've spent all that money and I have to give the rest to the kids.
Plus in the evenings would always be too drunk to do things like that, right?
Exactly. Well, or you think I'm going to do something where they open a bottle of wine and you can bring a bottle of wine along with you. It really is everything from what I eat to the things I say to the way I think, the exercise I get, the fact I want to take the dog out. I mean, she's benefited from my not drinking. It's just all encompassing. It's everything. It really is. And I don't know where to begin and where to end, because you could literally ask me about any moment in my day and I could tell you how it's changed. And you're welcome to do that, but we will be on here for hours.
Oh, that's so encouraging, because I know, if I think back to my first few days, even though you know this stuff and you're in the bottom of your heart, which is why you start off on this path, you can feel quite wobbly and quite unsure and a bit like a rabbit in the headlamps at the beginning. And I think just hearing encouragement from people who are a few steps ahead of you, 1 year ahead of you, just to say this is what is on the other side. It's not as difficult. I mean, yes, you have to push past those few days and those urges, but it's actually not as scary as you think. It's actually far more wonderful than you could possibly imagine. And it's really, I feel like when we start drinking, we really like start accelerating the engine. And we're like, all right, universe, I'm here now. I'm ready to play with the big boys. Like, let's go.
Yeah.
So on that note then,
sorry, and I was going to say, it's interesting what you say, because actually drinking was like that. It was a very small amount of time that I enjoyed the drink, and the rest was a nightmare. And sobriety's like that. The cravings just last for a tiny bit, and when they're not there, everything is better, and they get fewer. You get fewer and fewer, and they get further and further apart. And it is so exciting if you have the right mindset and you don't see this as you not being allowed to do something. People always say, won't you just drink again? What if you could just have one? I don't want any wine. I understand now how awful it is for me. It's not something that, someone said to me, if you could just get really drunk for one night and your day count was unaffected and no one knew, would you? I was like, no. It's like me asking if you'd like a bite of dog poo.
Yeah.
I'm good. You don't have to tell anyone. Do you want it? Of course you don't. And that's how I feel. And it's not a trial. It's not difficult. It is the best thing I've ever done, and it's incredible. And I have never been happier. And it's getting your head around that. And I think you have to see sobriety as something exciting and positive, not as something that you're being forced to do. If you feel it like that, you are going to want to drink every day. And when I did this before, I did a couple of months. I got to about 60 days actually, which is a couple of months, isn't it? And I had a drink at a barbecue, and I then drank every day for 6 months, more than I had drunk before, because I just thought, and I just wasn't ready. Every day of those 60 days, I've been thinking, no, you can't drink, you shouldn't drink. And actually, it was just the wrong mentality. It was always going to fall apart. Whereas this time I thought, I'm so lucky, this is my new life. And you don't have to say it's forever, but you have to appreciate everything that's happening. And that has, that's been the difference.
Yeah. Thank you. I completely resonate with that. Being alcohol free is the biggest gift you can give yourself. There's absolutely nothing to let go. There's nothing to give up. There's nothing to miss. And that's why I call it the abundance approach. Because when we try and manifest anything from lack, all we get is more lack. And that's why when we try and stop drinking and we've got a lack mindset, we come unstuck. Eventually, we're going to eat the forbidden fruit. But when we realize there's no forbidden fruit, there's only the gift of sobriety, and there's only abundance, then it's done. Then there's nothing to resist. You don't need any willpower, right?
No, you don't. And we didn't drink as kids. Alcohol is not part of life. It's not like losing a limb and people saying you're going to have to survive without this. We weren't born with alcohol. It's a drug that is sold to make people money. It's as simple as that. It's addictive, it's mind-altering, and it's bad for you. We have been told it's okay because it's legal and it's sold everywhere and it's offered everywhere. But actually, it's not good for you. And if you were an alien looking down at humans, you would go, why are these people all taking this thing? It's costing them money. It kills millions of people a year. It makes them act like idiots. It gives them depression. And it costs, it doesn't make sense, but it's addictive. And that's what the truth of the matter is. So without it, you aren't being told you can't have something, some amazing elixir that's just incredible and makes your life better. You're saying, I don't need this thing that's making everything worse. And I'm going to actually find out who I am. And it's thinking like that, which is really hard in this society because it's everywhere. And I think that's a real problem, to get your head around the fact that everything I've just said is true and it is bad for you and it should be illegal, alcohol.
Really,
as far as I'm concerned, because it has no benefits, zero. And I think Annie Grace was saying recently that, people used to say that a glass of red wine a day is good for you, and it's been proven that that's not true. And that was the kind of one thread people held on to, well, it's all right. And it's like, no, it's not. Even that is not good. Nothing, not a single sip of alcohol. There's no benefits. And once you accept that, and you enjoy the feeling, and I'm talking about me here, I don't know what other people think, but it was the feeling of what alcohol did to me that I enjoyed. If I'm being frank about it, that's it. And that's why people, I think, take all kinds of drugs, because it gives them something that they enjoy, whether that's because they are trying to process trauma and they don't want to think about it, whether that's because they're unhappy, whether it's because they're dealing with awful problems in their life, whether they've got mental health problems, for whatever reason, they're using it to self-medicate. People don't drink just because they like the taste of alcohol, and then when they've had half a glass, think, I better not drink anymore because it will affect me. Maybe some people do, but people who have a problem with alcohol don't. In which case, it's clear to me that stopping drinking is going to make you happier in every way. You just have to find other ways to deal with, like for me, slowing down my brain. I've got to find another way to do it that isn't going to kill me.
And also the other ways are when we actually show up for true healing. Because when we're numbing with alcohol, we're not actually dealing with the problem. The problem often gets worse and then drags us down further. And it might be uncomfortable or difficult to actually deal with the problem head on, but it allows us the opportunity to move through it and come out the other end. So one of the things that I always say to myself and my clients is, I get to deal with this now, not I have to. Like, I get to finally sort this out properly. Yeah.
And I think I posted about that yesterday, because I've got an injury at the moment, and I've had to, I've been in A&E yesterday and having to deal with the pain, and I've been feeling, hurt, and I've had to deal with emotions. But actually, this is what I want. I want to have to process these thoughts. I want to be able to think about things. I've had to deal with a tricky Christmas, and I've had to sit back and go, why am I feeling like this? And I'm a strong believer in all emotions are there for a reason. They're all there to protect us and to help us.
Yeah.
They give us, they alert us to problems. They help us understand what's going on. They are all important. And that includes being scared, being sad, all those things. So when they happen, instead of trying to push them down and going, happiness is my goal, that's what I need all the time, which is just rubbish, because no one is ever going to be that. And it would be incredibly odd if you pretended that was your life, because we all know that's impossible.
Yeah.
So dealing with them, and when they come out of the blue thinking, people used to say to me, oh, the moon. And I'd be like, oh, that's just such rubbish. Please just stop. I'm not interested. And now every time I get into a certain mood, one of my friends goes, it's that moon again. And I'm like, I'm really starting to believe
the full moon. Yeah.
I find it fascinating. And, it's things like that, noticing and caring enough about myself to notice why feelings are happening, and take an interest in them and working them out, so that next time around I go, I know what this is about. I'm just going to go to bed for a day if I have to, or I'm going to cry if I have to, or I know this will help. And it just feels like I'm solving little puzzles about myself every day. But that's self-care. that's what I should have been doing all along, rather than just pouring alcohol onto the problem. So it all just ends up in this sea of mess, basically.
I love how you've just said you're solving little problems every day. And I'm really pleased that you mentioned the emotion piece, because and I really encourage people not to get dragged into toxic positivity when they're going down the spiritual path and manifestation. Of course, we're programmed to move towards joy. That's, of course we are. And we want to move towards joy, but all of our feelings are beautiful signposts for what we need to look at and heal next. And they're actually there to help you manifest more, to help you up level, to help you get more joy. We need to listen to and honor all of them. And I love the way you phrase that, solving little puzzles about yourself every day.
Yeah.
And actually, I do think that life, when you start to see it from that bird's eye perspective and see how it kind of all works and the energy, it is a game. When we kind of detach from it a little bit and we see it for, I'm playing a game here, I need to show up for it. I need to not like go like a rabbit in the headlamps and like just hide and not deal with it. Just show up for the game and give it your best shot, and don't be afraid of your feelings. See them as helpful puzzle pieces.
Exactly.
Yeah,
they're clues. They're clues, and I tell you what, all the clues are there to help you.
Yeah,
you are hiding from yourself. You're not hiding from anyone else, and that's a stupid game. That's a waste of time, because you can't hide from yourself. So that just adds a whole level of complexity to your brain, trying to hide from yourself and tell yourself, I don't want to think about that, but I know it's there. I don't want to think about it, but I know it's there. And that is exhausting. So actually, by saying it's here, and you know, chocolate cake might be the end goal, but I don't want to eat chocolate cake all the time. Happiness, when it comes, feels amazing, because I wasn't that happy yesterday, and today, when I am happy, I can tell the difference, and I'm wondering why I'm feeling happy, and I'm realizing it's because I have a good life. And that's fantastic. If I felt like that all the time, it would get boring, and my happiness level would you know, it's just interesting. And it's interesting to care enough about yourself to want to know these things, and to take time to really listen to yourself and say, it's okay not to understand why I'm feeling this, but why don't I write a journal, or why don't I go for a walk on my own and literally just think about it, or just look up and breathe the air and realize I'm part of a much bigger thing. You know, I think it just makes you much more spiritual when you're not drinking all the time, because you realize that you're a valuable part of life. And you're a small part, but you're a valuable part. And actually, when you start to look after yourself and you're not slowly poisoning yourself, you feel like a bigger part of life. And then you realize you can help other people, which is what you do, and get people to understand they're a valuable part, and that makes you feel even more valuable. And it's just, you know, I don't want to end up age 90 thinking, well, I could drink anyone under the table. At full stop. I want to go, I've done this, I've clawed my way out of this horrible drinking problem that I had, and look what I did. And then I didn't just stop at that. I helped other people work out that life would be better. And that's exciting. That's what everyone wants in life. You know, people as a race want to keep learning and progressing. When we stop doing that, we start to panic, because actually we need to learn every day. We need to learn something. We need to evolve ourselves from childhood through to old age. We need to keep learning. That's why people get bored when they retire, whereas drinking was stopping that. And in a way, when I was a teenager, I stopped learning, I stopped progressing, and I feel a bit like I'm picking up from when I was, you know, 15, 16, because I never really developed, because I kept waiting for that hit of alcohol at the end of the day, and then that evening was gone. Next day I recovered, did my job, and back to the pub, and I've sort of missed out. So now I'm thirsty for knowledge, and I want to know as much as I can. I mean, if you need a reason to give up alcohol and that's not a big enough reason, I don't know what is.
Oh, you know what? Everything you said is just like lighting me up, because what you're describing is basically, I always see it as an image of like being a hamster in a wheel. Because when you're drinking, you're not learning, and we've come here to be spiritual. We've come here for a human experience, and we've come here to grow and learn and expand our souls. And when we are numbing and we're not listening to our feelings and our emotions, we're not acting on them, we're not, as you say, we're not learning, we're not expanding, we're stuck, we're like a hamster in a wheel going round and round. And this is why we kind of create this downward spiral, because our life, we feel so unfulfilled, we feel unfulfilled, we feel like, what's the point? I'm just going through the motions, the only thing I've got to look forward to is a drink. But it's the drink that's actually creating that cycle of, I'm not going anywhere here, I'm going around in circles. When you take the drink out, yes, it might be a bit scary to start with, a bit uncomfortable, but you're taking that away, and the wheel's gone. And you start to work, you start to dance with the universe, you start to work with your emotions, and then you're exponentially, it's like, I always see it like one of those old school like Mario computer games where you kind of go along, bash all the obstacles away, and then you level 2, and then life becomes like that. And every time something uncomfortable happens, in fact, the more difficult the thing is that you go through, once you come out the other side, you get a massive up level, and you're like, everything's better now.
It is. And instead of feeling like you're going down the sort of ladder, down the chute, I mean, you feel that even when bad things or things that push you or test you, they make you stronger. They don't knock you down, because you don't feel like being knocked down. Whereas when you've been drinking and you wake up feeling shame and embarrassment because of what you said, or because you face planted on the pavement in front of your boss, or God, you got off with the guy who's an absolute idiot, or whatever you did that's embarrassing. Instead, you think, no, I'm worth it. I haven't done anything that warrants this behavior. And you stand up for yourself, because people used to make fun of me. Oh, here she comes. And because I felt that way about myself, I took it. Whereas now, if people, if someone criticizes me, that's fine. I'm interested to hear why. But if someone tries to make fun of me for something, or they try to knock me down, I won't take it, because I'm so much stronger and I know who I am, that I just think, no, I'm sorry, that's just unkind. And I don't like it when people do it to other people either. And it's because I don't feel like that about myself anymore, that I'm standing taller. And it's like, if you don't want to be around me, if you don't like me, or you don't want to work with me or whatever, that's fine. But don't come over here and start telling me because of your own issues. And it just makes things very clear. And it makes me, I've become so much calmer, and I'm very honest about how I feel. And I just think, I'm okay with this. I haven't done anything wrong. I have not done anything that I'm embarrassed about for a year. That's incredible. And the change is so apparent in the way that I am, because I'm happier, and I'm more confident, and I know that I'm not a bad person. And I never was a bad person, but I used to think I was, because I was so shamed. And I thought, who gets drunk in front of their kids? Or why am I drinking 2 bottles of wine on a Tuesday night? I'm a bad person. What's wrong with me? But that's all gone.
It's freedom. It's true.
It is freedom. It is freedom to grow. It's like putting a plant pot upside down on top of a seedling, without not letting it have any light, not letting it have any water, and then finally kicking it off and saying grow. And I feel like that. I feel like I've finally just been given this life, and the potential is huge.
Oh my goodness, that's giving me goosebumps. So year 2 then, before we finish up, what have you got on your manifestation list for year 2? What are you looking forward to?
I thought maybe Prime Minister. What do you think?
I think you could do it. I think great. Well, I mean, I think anyway.
I don't know is the answer, and I'm struggling a bit with this, because my day count has been really important to me up to a year, and now I've reached a year, I need something bigger, and I'm aware of that because of everything we've just spoken about. I'm aware that I need something that's going to push me and challenge me. I don't want to become blasé about what I've achieved. I want to make sure that there's something else I'm aiming for, that I'm growing. I've got a lot of catching up to do and I'm hungry to do it. So I've got to think about what that is. And I don't know, but I'm excited about it. And, you know, I'm thinking about it, and I'm going to spend the next couple of weeks really thinking about where I want to be next year. And then I will put a plan in motion, and I will start working towards it. But all I know is that there is no chance I'm ever going to drink again. If I do, I'd be so surprised, because I cannot think of a single thing that would make me drink. You know, I just can't. So I don't know. Well, I'm a kind of work in progress, but I think that's the exciting part.
Yeah, and I'm so excited for you. And I think this time next year, maybe probably before that, I'd love to have you back on the podcast, but it would be cool to do a check-in with you next January and say like what happened in year 2.
Yeah.
Update. I'd love that. I'm sure everyone listening, if they don't already follow you, are really keen to follow you now. So can you tell us where we can find you online?
I'm actually only on Instagram as Walking the Straight Line. That's the only social media I do. And I
does very well, by the way. She's just excellent post.
I post a lot, but I post every time something comes to my head. I quickly create it and post it, and then I don't have to think about it, and that's how I work. But yeah, I'm very active on that, and I reply to all of my DMs that I get sent, and I reply to comments, and this community has helped me more than I can ever thank them for. So I will always do what I can to give back to other people starting as well, because it's just so exciting, because I know what's in store for them. And I read DMs and I literally get a Cheshire cat. Is it a Cheshire cat?
Yeah.
Smile. And I'm just like, this is so exciting. I can't wait for you to see what's in store for you. So yeah, it's that's the answer. Walking Straight Line is the short answer.
And I've popped Kate's Instagram in the show notes. Give her a follow. She's so inspirational. And yeah, I mean, you know how much I love being sober, but you've really got me revved up and grateful again today, and even more excited than I was before we started this call. So thank you for lifting my mood, and yeah, I'll have you back again on the pod very soon. Hopefully we'll go for a walk as well soon.
Brilliant. Thank you for asking me, and have a good one.
Yeah, you too. Take care. Thank you so much for listening to me today. If you would like to have the chance of winning a free one-to-one coaching session with me, then I'd love it if you could leave me a 5-star review. All you need to do is take a screenshot of the review and send it to me at thrive@coachingbyannika.co.uk, and I would love to connect with you. If you would like to connect with me further and you'd like to download my free guide, then please go to my website and you can do that, and you'll be added to my mail list. Or if you would just like to book in a free discovery call with me, then you can do so via my email address or through my website. All of these links will be in the show notes. And I hope you have a wonderful, magical, sober week, and I will see you this time next week.